The howling winds of Sector 4G slashed across the barren ice plains like invisible knives. Commander Le stood at the observation deck of the International Space Intelligence ISI orbital station, his weathered face illuminated by the pale blue glow of multiple screens. 20 years of service had left permanent creases around his eyes, but they still maintained their intensity, the kind that could assess a threat in milliseconds. "Commander, we're picking up an anomalous heat signature beneath the surface," reported Captain Min, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Grid coordinates 27854, approximately 2 kilometers beneath the ice shelf." Lee leaned forward, squinting at the thermal imaging display. A faint orange dot pulsed amidst the overwhelming blue of the frozen landscape. "Natural geothermal activity," he suggested, though his intuition told him otherwise. This particular planet was known for its consistent, sub-zero temperatures and complete absence of volcanic activity. "Negative, sir. The pattern is too regular. Almost like—" Captain Min hesitated, adjusting the sensors. "Like a heartbeat." Lieutenant Han, the youngest and most astute member of the team, approached from her monitoring station. Her usually confident stride faltered slightly as she handed Le a datapad. "Sir, we're receiving a weak signal from the same location. It's encrypted, but preliminary analysis suggests it's a distress call." The command center fell silent. Distress calls were rare in this desolate quadrant of the galaxy. Sector 4G was uninhabited, or at least, it was supposed to be. Lee studied the signal pattern, his mind calculating possibilities and protocols. Standard ISI procedure dictated observation only, especially on uncharted worlds. Direct intervention required clearance from Central Command, a process that could take days, even weeks. But something about the rhythmic pulse of that heat signature stirred something deep within him. 20 years ago, he might have followed protocol without question. Now, he knew better. Some decisions couldn't wait for bureaucracy. "Prepare a landing team," he ordered, his voice cutting through the silence. "Full environmental gear, medical equipment, and defensive capabilities. We drop in 30 minutes. "Commander," Captain Min lowered his voice. "Central Command hasn't authorized—" "I'll handle Central Command," Le interrupted, already striding toward the equipment bay. "That signal could be someone's last hope. I'm not going to let it fade while we wait for paperwork." The dropship shuddered violently as it descended through the planet's turbulent atmosphere. Ice crystals formed intricate patterns on the reinforced windows, only to be instantly melted by the ship's external heating systems. Lei checked his environmental suit one final time, the latest ISI technology, designed to withstand temperatures that would freeze human blood in seconds. Beside him, Lieutenant Han and 4 other specialists completed their preparations with practiced efficiency. "Surface conditions are deteriorating," the pilot's voice crackled through the intercom. "Category 3 ice storm brewing directly over the target area. We have a narrow window for deployment." "Understood," Lee responded. "Get us as close as possible, then maintain hover position until we signal for extraction." The landing team exchanged tense glances. They had trained for extreme conditions, but Sector 4G represented something beyond standard parameters. This was a world that had never felt human footsteps. With a heavy metallic groan, the dropship's floor split open, revealing the raging blizzard below. Wind howled into the cabin, bringing with it particles of ice that stung exposed skin like miniature daggers. "Remember your training," Le shouted over the deafening noise. "Stay connected to the tether line. Maintain visual contact at all times. Our objective is to locate the source of that signal and assess. Nothing more." One by one, they descended into the white abyss, specialized boots crunching through the ice crust upon landing. The wind immediately pushed against them with almost sentient malice, as if the planet itself resented their intrusion. Lee activated his helmet's enhanced vision system, scanning the barren landscape. The GPS tracker embedded in his suit pointed them toward a slight depression, about half a kilometer ahead, the epicenter of the mysterious signal. "Move out," he commanded through the team's communication system. "Standard formation." They trudged forward, each step requiring conscious effort against the punishing wind and treacherous terrain. The ice beneath their feet occasionally groaned and shifted, hinting at unseen depths and dangers. 20 minutes of grueling progress brought them to the depression. What had appeared as a slight dip from a distance revealed itself as a substantial crevasse, its depths disappearing into darkness. "The signal is coming from down there," Lieutenant Hahn confirmed, consulting her tracking device. "Approximately 40 meters below our current position." Lee peered into the abyss. "Deploy illumination probes." Small, spherical devices were released into the crevasse, their descent highlighting jagged ice formations and narrowing passages. The team watched the visual feed on their helmet displays as the probes continued downward until— "Stop," Lee commanded suddenly. "Reverse probe 3, 10 meters back." The illumination probe ascended slightly, its light catching something embedded in the ice wall, something decidedly unnatural. A metallic surface reflected the probe's light, its edges forming what appeared to be the remnants of a small craft. "Is that a ship?" Captain Min's voice carried disbelief. "Crashed or deliberately hidden," Le muttered. "Hahn, scan for biological signatures." Lieutenant Hahn adjusted her equipment, focusing on the crashed vessel. "I'm getting readings consistent with the heat signature observed from orbit, but it's faint. Whatever or whoever is generating it, they're barely hanging on." Lei made his decision instantly. "We're going down. Min, secure our exit route, the rest of you, with me." Descending into the crevasse proved even more challenging than crossing the surface. They rappelled down slowly, avoiding sharp ice formations and unstable sections. The closer they got to the embedded craft, the more apparent its artificial nature became. The vessel was small, barely large enough for a single occupant, and constructed of a material that seemed to absorb the surrounding cold rather than succumb to it. "No identifiable markings," observed Lieutenant Hahn as they finally reached the craft. "Not ISI, not Dominion, not any known civilization in the Galactic Congress Registry." Le ran his gloved hand along the smooth surface, wiping away layers of frost. The material felt strange, neither metal nor composite, but something altogether different. "How do we get inside?" As if responding to his touch, a section of the craft's surface suddenly reconfigured, molecules shifting position until an opening appeared. The team instinctively stepped back, weapons raised. "Hold position," Lee ordered, approaching the opening alone. Warm air escaped from inside, creating a surreal mist as it met the freezing atmosphere. He activated his helmet's scanning system, analyzing the interior environment. "Breathable atmosphere inside," he reported. "Temperature approximately 15 degrees Celsius. No detectable toxins or pathogens." Cautiously, Lee peered inside. The interior was dimly lit by a soft blue glow emanating from the walls themselves. At the center of the small chamber, partially embedded in a gelatinous substance, lay a child. Le froze, momentarily unable to process what he was seeing. The child, a girl. He guessed couldn't have been more than 6 years old by human standards, but she was clearly not human. Her skin had a distinct blue-green tint, and intricate patterns spiraled across her exposed arms and face. Most striking were her closed eyes, large and angled upward at the corners. "Commander," Lieutenant Hahn's voice snapped him back to reality. "There's a child," he responded, his voice barely above a whisper. "Alien physiology. Appears to be in some form of stasis." He leaned further into the craft, noting that the gelatinous substance surrounding the child seemed to be hardening, crystallizing at its edges. The stasis system was failing. Without further hesitation, Le climbed fully into the craft. The child's chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. She was alive, but barely. "Hun, I need you in here. The rest of you, prepare for immediate extraction." Lieutenant Han joined him inside the craft, her medical training immediately taking over as she scanned the child. "Her biology is unlike anything in our database," she reported. "But I'm detecting significant cellular degradation. The stasis field is breaking down. If we leave her here—" "We're not leaving her," Le stated firmly. "Can we move her safely?" Han hesitated. The gelatinous material appears to be a life support medium. Removing her could accelerate the deterioration, but leaving her is certain death. Le made his decision. "Prepare a portable stasis unit. We're taking her back to the station." As they carefully extracted the child from the gelatinous substance, Le noticed something else, a small symbol tattooed, or perhaps genetically encoded, onto her inner wrist. A geometric pattern that seemed vaguely familiar, though he couldn't place it. With the child secured in a portable stasis pod, the team began their ascent. The storm above had intensified, turning their climb into a brutal battle against nature itself. By the time they reached the surface, visibility had dropped to near zero. "Dropship, this is Commander Le," he shouted into his communication system. "We need immediate extraction. One survivor recovered. Critical condition." Static was his only answer. "Dropship, do you copy?" He tried again. The unconscious child's stasis pod clutched against his chest. More static. Then, finally, a broken response. "Commander. Storm intensifying. Cannot maintain position. Returning to low orbit." Lo's heart sank. The storm had forced their extraction vehicle to retreat. They were stranded on the surface with a dying alien child and rapidly depleting resources. "Listen up," he addressed his team, voice raised against the howling wind. "We need shelter. The crevasse is our best option until the storm passes." He nodded toward the child's stasis pod. "And she's running out of time." They descended once more into the relative safety of the ice crevasse, setting up emergency equipment around the alien craft that had become their temporary refuge. Lieutenant Han worked frantically to stabilize the child, interfacing their medical equipment with the mysterious technology of the stasis pod. "Her body temperature is dropping rapidly," Han reported. "The portable stasis unit isn't fully compatible with her physiology." Lee removed his gloves and placed his hands on the pod's surface. Even through the transparent material, he could feel the child's life force diminishing. "What do you need?" he asked Han. "Heat," she replied simply. "Her species must require significantly higher temperatures than humans. We need to raise the ambient temperature around her by at least 10 degrees. Lee looked around their makeshift shelter. Their equipment wasn't designed for generating that kind of heat. It was meant to keep humans warm in cold environments, not create tropical conditions. Then his eyes fell on the child's crashed vessel. It had maintained a perfect internal temperature, despite being embedded in ice for who knew how long. "The ship," he said. "We need to get her back inside it." Working quickly, they transferred the child back into her original craft. As they placed her into the gelatinous substance, Le noticed something remarkable. The material responded, flowing around her small body, as if welcoming her home. "It's some kind of intelligent biomaterial," Han observed with fascination. "It's adapting to her condition." For hours, they monitored the child from just outside the craft, watching as the gelatinous substance gradually restored color to her blue-green skin. The storm above continued to rage, cutting them off from communication with the orbital station. It was during the long wait that Le found himself studying the symbol on the child's wrist more carefully. He captured an image with his helmet's camera and ran it through the limited database stored in his suit's computer. The results made his blood run cold. "Dominion Bio-P," he whispered, drawing Lieutenant Han's attention. "Sir, this symbol," he showed her the image. "It's a variant of a proprietary marker used by Dominion Bio-P, the biological research division of Dominion Corporation." Han's expression darkened. Dominion doesn't operate in this sector. Their activities are restricted to the central systems. Officially, Le agreed grimly. But we both know corporations like Dominion don't always play by the rules, especially when it comes to biological experimentation. They exchanged knowing glances. Dominion BioP had been implicated in numerous ethical violations over the years, unauthorized genetic modifications, illegal cloning, even rumored experiments on sentient species. Most allegations were dismissed due to lack of evidence or buried under mountains of legal proceedings. "You think she's one of their experiments?" Han asked, glancing at the sleeping child. Le's jaw tightened. "I think we need to get her back to the station and find out exactly what we're dealing with." When the storm finally subsided 12 hours later, the dropship returned to extract them. The child, still unconscious but stabilized, was carefully transferred to the ship's medical bay. As they ascended toward the orbital station, Le gazed down at the seemingly endless white landscape below, wondering what other secrets it might hold. Back at the ISI orbital station, the child was immediately moved to the medical wing. Dr. Kim, the station's chief medical officer, oversaw the transfer personally. "Fascinating," he murmured, examining the readouts from the child's stasis pod. "Her cellular structure contains elements I've never seen before. Some form of hybridization, perhaps?" Les stood nearby, arms crossed over his chest. "Can you wake her?" Dr. Kim shook his head. "Not yet. Her system is still in shock. She needs time to stabilize in a controlled environment." He glanced at Le. "May I ask where you found her? This isn't exactly a standard rescue operation." Before Le could respond, a communication alert sounded throughout the station. The large screen in the medical bay activated automatically, displaying the stern face of Admiral Wong, head of ISI Central Command. "Commander Le," she began without preamble, "I've received your preliminary report. You violated direct protocol by initiating a landing operation without authorization." Le stepped forward. "With respect, Admiral, we received a distress signal. The ISI charter explicitly allows emergency intervention in such cases." "A convenient interpretation," Wong replied coldly. "Nevertheless, what's done is done. What concerns me now is the specimen you recovered." Lo flinched at the word specimen. "She's a child, Admiral, a living, breathing child who needed our help." Wong's expression remained impassive. "A child of unknown origin and species, found with Dominion BioP markings, in a sector where no sentient life should exist. This raises significant security concerns." "Commander." "What are your orders?" Lu asked, already dreading the answer. "The specimen is to be placed in quarantine immediately. A specialized containment team is being dispatched from Central. They will arrive within 72 hours to transport it to our research facility on Station Omega." Lee felt his hands clench into fists at his sides. "She's not an it, Admiral, and she's been through enough trauma already." "Your personal feelings are noted, Commander, but irrelevant," Wong replied. "This is now a matter of galactic security. Until the containment team arrives, you are to maintain strict isolation protocols. No unnecessary contact with the specimen. Daily reports on its condition. Is that understood?" Lei forced himself to nod. "Understood, Admiral." The communication ended, leaving an uncomfortable silence in the medical bay. Dr. Kim cleared his throat. "I should prepare the isolation chamber," he said quietly. "Do what you have to do," Lo responded, his voice tight. "But she stays under medical care, not locked in a cell." As Dr. Kim busied himself with preparations, Le approached the child's stasis pod. Through the transparent surface, he could see her small chest rising and falling with each breath. Her face, even in unconsciousness, held an expression of innocence that transcended species. In that moment, Le made a decision that would change both their lives forever. The isolation chamber was officially designated as a restricted area, accessible only to essential medical personnel and Commander Le himself. as station chief. What Central Command didn't know was that Le spent hours each day sitting beside the child's bed, sometimes reading aloud from Earth literature, sometimes simply watching over her in silence. 3 days after her rescue, she opened her eyes for the first time. Le was alone with her when it happened. He had been reviewing reports on his datapad when a soft gasp drew his attention. Looking up, he found himself staring into the most extraordinary eyes he had ever seen, large, almond-shaped, and a deep violet color that seemed to shift and swirl like cosmic nebulae. The child's initial reaction was fear. She pressed herself against the wall, small body trembling as she took in her unfamiliar surroundings. "It's okay," Les said gently, remaining perfectly still. "You're safe now." Though he doubted she understood his words, something in his tone seemed to reach her. The trembling subsided slightly, and her gaze fixed on his face with unmistakable intelligence. Slowly, Lee extended his hand, palm up, a universal gesture of peace. The child stared at it for a long moment before hesitantly reaching out with her own small hand. Her fingers were slender, with an extra joint that humans lacked, and the blue-green skin had an almost translucent quality. When their hands touched, Le felt a surprising warmth and a faint tingling sensation, like a mild electric current passing between them. "My name is Le," he said, pointing to himself with his free hand. "Le." The child tilted her head, watching his lips move. Then, to his astonishment, she mimicked the motion, her mouth forming shapes that produced no sound. "You can't speak?" Le asked, though he knew she wouldn't understand. In response, the child pointed to her throat and shook her head. Whether this meant she was physically unable to speak or simply didn't know how, Le couldn't tell. Over the next few hours, they developed a rudimentary form of communication, simple gestures, drawings on a datapad, and facial expressions. Le learned that the child could understand concepts quickly, showing remarkable intelligence despite her young appearance. When Dr. Kim arrived for his scheduled examination, he found Lu teaching the child how to play a simple game on the datapad. "Commander," Kim said, surprised. "I didn't expect to find you interacting with a subject to this degree." Le didn't look up. "Her name is Niet Dom." "Excuse me?" "Niet Dom," Lee repeated. "It means heat spot in Vietnamese, what she looked like on our thermal scanners. Just a tiny spot of warmth in an ocean of ice." He finally met the doctor's gaze. "She needs a name, not a designation." Dr. Kim sighed. "Commander, the containment team arrives tomorrow. I understand you formed an attachment, but..." "She was conscious when we found her," Le interrupted. "The life support system in her craft was failing. She sent that distress signal deliberately. Doctor, she asked for help." "Even if that's true, it doesn't change Central's orders." Le's expression hardened. "Run your tests, Doctor, but I want your word that she'll be treated with dignity. Not as a specimen, but as a patient." Kim hesitated, then nodded. "You have my word." After the doctor had completed his examination and left, Le returned to Niet Dom's side. The child was drawing on the datapad intricate spiral patterns, similar to those on her skin. "Those are beautiful," Le commented, pointing to the patterns. Niet Dom looked up at him, then deliberately turned her wrist to show the symbol Le had identified as belonging to Dominion Biop. With her finger, she traced a circle around it, then made a slashing motion. The message was clear even across the species barrier. This mark was not chosen. It was imposed. Le felt a surge of protective anger. "Did they hurt you?" he asked, mimicking pain by wincing and touching his arm. Niet Dom's large eyes clouded with what might have been tears, though the liquid that gathered at their corners had a silvery sheen, unlike human tears. She nodded once, then returned to her drawing, this time sketching what appeared to be multiple versions of herself in transparent containers, surrounded by tall figures in protective gear. A laboratory! She was showing him a laboratory where she had been kept, studied, perhaps even created. That night, Le couldn't sleep. He paced his quarters, mind racing with possibilities and decisions. The containment team would arrive in less than 12 hours. Once they took Niet Dam, she would disappear into the shadowy world of ISI research facilities, poked, prodded, dissected in the name of security and science. Just like Dominion BioP had done to her. At 0300 hours, Lei made his way to the station's communication center. The night shift officer, surprised to see the commander at such an hour, quickly vacated his post as ordered. Alone, Lee established a secure connection to an old colleague, Tran, a former ISI operative who now worked in the legal division of the Galactic Congress. Tran's sleepy face appeared on screen. "Do you have any idea what time it is here?" "I need your help," Le replied without preamble. "What do you know about Dominion BioP's research licenses?" Tran rubbed his eyes. "Straight to business as always. Dominion BioP holds permits for standard genetic research, cellular regeneration studies, agricultural enhancements, the usual corporate fare." "What about sentient experimentation?" Tran's expression sharpened. "Absolutely not. No corporation has that authority. The Galactic Congress explicitly banned such research after the Proxima Centauri incident." He leaned closer to the screen. "Why are you asking about this?" Briefly, Lee explained the rescue mission and Niet Dam's condition, including the Dominion marker on her wrist and her drawings of laboratory containment. "This goes beyond corporate overreach," Lee concluded. "If Dominion is conducting illegal experimentation on sentient beings, possibly even creating them, it's a violation of every ethical standard in the Congress." Tran's face had grown increasingly grave as Lee spoke. "Do you have documentation evidence that would stand up to scrutiny?" "Medical scans, genetic analysis, the symbol itself and her. She's the evidence." "Then you need to file for protective custody," Tran said decisively. "Submit Form GC5591 immediately, with all supporting documentation. It will trigger an automatic investigation by the Galactic Congress Ethics Committee." "How long will that take?" Tran grimaced. "Under normal circumstances, weeks. But given the nature of the allegations and the involvement of a child, I can expedite it through my department. Still, we're talking days at minimum." "The ISI containment team arrives in 10 hours, Lee said grimly. "Then you have 10 hours to build the strongest case possible," Tran replied. "Get everything you can, medical reports, genetic sequencing, recorded interviews if possible. I'll start the paperwork on my end." Lee nodded gratefully. "I owe you, old friend. Just make sure you're right about this." Tran warned. "Taking on both ISI and Dominion Corporation. It could end your career, or worse." "Some things matter more than career," Le responded before ending the transmission. For the next 6 hours, Le worked tirelessly alongside Dr. Kim, who, despite his initial reservations, had become increasingly concerned about Central Command's intentions for the child. "These genetic markers are artificial," Kim explained, pointing to highlighted sections of a DNA display, "but brilliantly integrated with naturally occurring sequences. Whoever did this wasn't just experimenting, they were creating, designing." "A designer child," Le muttered, the concept turning his stomach. Kim nodded grimly. "The modifications appear aimed at enhancing survival in extreme cold environments, alongside significant cognitive augmentation. But there's something else." He manipulated the display, zooming in on a particular sequence. "This section contains degradation failsafes, meaning she was designed with a limited lifespan. Without regular genetic maintenance, her cellular structure would begin to break down after a predetermined period." Le's fists clenched. "Built-in obsolescence, like a product." "Precisely," Kim agreed. "A living being with an expiration date, requiring the creator's intervention to survive. The ultimate form of control." The doctor's findings, combined with Niet Dom's own drawings and the Dominion BIOP symbol, formed the core of Lu's protective custody petition. As Tran had promised, the paperwork was expedited through the system, triggering immediate notifications to all parties involved, including, unfortunately, Dominion Corporation itself. The containment team's shuttle was less than 2 hours from docking when the station's security systems detected an incoming vessel on an unauthorized approach vector. Unidentified craft. This is ISI Orbital Station Sector 4G, Lieutenant Han announced over the communication system. You are entering restricted space. Identify yourself immediately. The response came in the form of a high-priority transmission that overrode the station's communication protocols. A man in an immaculate business suit appeared on the main screen, his expression a practiced blend of concern and authority. This is Executive Director Francis Morgan of Dominion Corporation, he announced. We have received information that you are holding Dominion property recovered from the surface of Sector 4G3. Lee stepped forward, facing the screen. We are holding a child rescued from a crashed vessel. She is currently under medical care and the subject of a Galactic Congress protective custody petition. Morgan's smile didn't reach his eyes. A regrettable misunderstanding. Commander, Sample 47A is not a child in any legal sense. It is a proprietary biological research organism developed by Dominion BIOP under special authorization from your own Central Command. She has sentience, Le countered, self-awareness, intelligence. Under Galactic Congress law, that grants her personhood rights regardless of origin. Commander Le, Morgan's voice hardened slightly. I am authorized to inform you that your interference in this matter constitutes a breach of security protocols. Central Command has ordered you to release Sample 47A to our custody immediately. Le felt a cold certainty settle over him. Central Command had been working with Dominion all along, perhaps even authorizing their illegal research in exchange for technological advantages or political favors. I'm afraid that's impossible, Le replied evenly. The protective custody petition has already been filed and acknowledged by the Galactic Congress. Any attempt to remove the child from this station would constitute a direct violation of Congress authority. Morgan's facade of pleasantness vanished entirely. This is your final warning, Commander. Transfer the sample, or face the consequences. The transmission cut off abruptly. Moments later, the station's proximity alarms blared to life. The Dominion vessel is powering weapons, shouted Lieutenant Han from her console. They're targeting our docking ports. Le sprang into action. Sound General Quarters. All personnel to emergency stations. Security Team Alpha to the medical bay immediately. He turned to Captain Min. How many people on that Dominion ship? Min checked the scanner readings. Biosigns indicate approximately 20 individuals. A retrieval team, Lee concluded grimly. They're coming for her. The station shuddered as the first shots impacted against its outer defenses. ISI stations were well protected, but they weren't designed to withstand a concentrated assault. They're attempting to override our docking controls, reported Lieutenant Han, fingers flying across her console. I'm implementing countermeasures, but they have advanced infiltration software. Lo's mind raced through options. The station had limited security personnel enough to handle routine situations, but not an armed incursion. The containment team from Central Command was still an hour away, and given Morgan's confidence, Lee suspected they might be working with Dominion rather than against them. Min, seal all interior bulkheads. Restrict access to critical systems and the medical bay. Han, send an emergency transmission to the Galactic Congress, full details of the situation, including Dominion's armed response to a legal custody petition. As his officers carried out their orders, Le hurried toward the medical bay. He found Dr. Kim hastily gathering equipment, while Niet Dom watched with wide, frightened eyes. They're coming for her, aren't they? Kim asked, though it wasn't really a question. Le nodded. Then, knelt beside Niet Dam's bed. "Listen to me," he said gently, meeting her violet gaze. "Bad people are trying to take you away. I won't let them. But we need to move somewhere safer." Whether she understood his words or simply his intent, Niet Dam nodded and slipped her small hand into his. The trust in that simple gesture strengthened Le's resolve. He led them through maintenance corridors, avoiding the main passageways where Dominion forces would likely concentrate their efforts. Security updates flashed across his communication device. The Dominion ship had successfully docked at the emergency airlock on Level 3. Armed personnel were breaching the outer doors. The station's small armory was located near the security office on Level 2. Le directed Dr. Kim and Niet Dam to wait in an adjacent storage room while he retrieved weapons. "Commander Le," Kim's voice was low but urgent. "What exactly is your plan here? We can't fight off a Dominion retrieval team indefinitely." "We don't need to," Le replied, checking the charge on a standard-issue pulse rifle. "We just need to hold them off until the Galactic Congress responds to our emergency transmission. Once Congress representatives are involved, not even Dominion will risk an interstellar incident. And if Congress doesn't respond in time," Lee handed the doctor a smaller sidearm, "then we do whatever it takes to keep her safe." The first confrontation occurred outside the medical bay. Dominion forces, dressed in unmarked tactical gear but carrying military-grade weapons, had clearly expected to find Niet Dam there. Instead, they encountered Captain Min and a small security team who had established a defensive position. Lei monitored the situation through the station's security feed. Min was holding his ground, but the Dominion team was better equipped and clearly had combat experience beyond standard corporate security. "We need to move," Lei told Kim and Niet Dam. "They'll figure out she's not in the medical bay soon enough." The command center offered the best defensible position, reinforced doors, emergency protocols, and direct communication access to external authorities. As they made their way cautiously through the station's labyrinthine corridors, Le could hear the distant sound of weapons fire and the occasional reverberation of small explosions. They were halfway to the command center when Lieutenant Han's voice came through Le's communication device. "Commander, Dominion forces have breached Level 2 security. They're accessing the station's internal sensors." "Can you block them?" Lu asked, pressing himself against a wall as he checked the next corridor. "I'm trying, but their tech is sophisticated. I've implemented rotating security protocols, but it won't hold them for long." Lee made a quick decision. "Hun, initiate protocol blackout." There was a brief pause. "Sir, that will disable all non-essential systems station-wide. Life support, critical communications, and emergency functions will remain operational. But everything else—" "Do it," Lee ordered. "It's our best chance to level the playing field." Seconds later, the station's lighting switched to emergency red. The familiar hum of environmental systems quieted to a bare minimum. Most importantly, the internal sensor network which Dominion forces were using to track movement throughout the station went offline. In the dimmed lighting, Niet Dam's skin took on an almost luminescent quality, the patterns spiraling across her face and arms, emitting a faint, phosphorescent glow. She seemed less frightened than Lo would have expected, her large eyes adapting quickly to the darkness. They continued toward the command center, moving more confidently now that they were partially concealed by the emergency lighting. As they rounded the final corner, Le spotted two armed figures outside the command center doors. "Wait here," he whispered to Kim and Niet Dam, positioning them in an alcove before proceeding alone. The Dominion operatives were attempting to override the command center's security lock. They were so focused on their task that they failed to notice Lu's approach until it was too late. Two precisely aimed stun blasts from his pulse rifle left them unconscious on the floor. Lee quickly collected their weapons and communication devices before signaling to Kim and Niet Dam to join him. As Dr. Kim hurried forward, Niet Dam suddenly froze, her eyes widening in apparent terror. Following her gaze, Lei turned just in time to see a third Dominion operative emerging from a side passage, weapon already raised. Le dove forward, pushing Kim and Niet Dam aside as energy fire scorched the wall where they had been standing. Rolling to a defensive position, Le returned fire. The Dominion operative was well trained, however, ducking behind a structural support column. The exchange of fire echoed through the corridor as Le maneuvered to keep himself between the attacker and Niet Dam. "Get to the command center," he shouted to Kim. "Emergency override Lee Alpha 79. Kim grabbed Niet Dam's hand and ran for the command center doors, which slid open in response to Le's override code. As they disappeared inside, Le continued to exchange fire with the Dominion operative, gradually backing toward the doors himself. A sudden movement from his peripheral vision warned him of another threat, a second operative approaching from the opposite direction. Le was now caught in crossfire, pinned down in the corridor with enemies on both sides. A desperate plan formed in his mind. Adjusting the settings on his pulse rifle to maximum dispersion, Le aimed at the ceiling above one of the operatives and fired. The blast weakened the structural supports, causing a section of ceiling panels and conduits to collapse directly onto the surprised attacker. Using the momentary distraction, Le charged the remaining operative, closing the distance before the man could take proper aim. They collided with bone-jarring force, Lee's momentum carrying them both to the ground. The operative's weapons skittered across the floor as they grappled in the emergency lighting. The Dominion operative was younger and possibly stronger, but Le had decades of experience and the absolute conviction that failure meant Niet Dam's return to captivity. With a series of precise strikes, Le incapacitated his opponent, leaving the man unconscious but alive. Breathing heavily, Le retrieved his rifle and the operative's fallen weapon before making his way to the command center. The doors opened at his approach, revealing Dr. Kim at the communications console with Niet Dam close beside him. "Any response from the Galactic Congress?" Liu asked, securing the doors behind him. Kim shook his head. "Nothing yet, but I've managed to establish contact with the ISI containment team. They're accelerating their approach after receiving reports of the Dominion attack." Le's expression darkened. "Can we trust them?" Morgan seemed awfully confident about Central Command's cooperation. "We don't have many options," Kim pointed out. "The station's security teams are overwhelmed, and Dominion forces are systematically searching each level. It's only a matter of time before they reach us here." As if to emphasize his point, the command center doors shuddered under a heavy impact. The reinforced material held, but a second impact followed, then a third. Dominion was using breaching charges. "How long will those doors hold?" Kim asked, voice tight with tension. "Not long enough," Le admitted. He turned to Niet Dam, who stood watching him with those extraordinary violet eyes. Despite everything happening around them, she seemed remarkably calm now, as if she had absolute faith in Le's ability to protect her. That faith strengthened his resolve. Le approached the Central Command console and activated a rarely used protocol. "Command override Lee, Senior Commander. ISI Division 7. Initiate station lockdown procedure. Authorization Epsilon Red." The station's AI responded immediately. "Warning, Epsilon Red authorization will seal all compartments and disable all external access for a minimum of 24 hours. Emergency override requires triple authentication from command-level officers. Do you wish to proceed?" "Proceed," Le confirmed. Around them, massive reinforced barriers began sliding into place throughout the station, separating each section from the others. The Dominion forces already inside would be trapped in whatever compartments they currently occupied, unable to join together or reach the command center. The pounding on the command center doors ceased, as the Dominion operatives on the other side presumably realized what was happening. "That will buy us some time," Le said, turning back to Kim and Niet Dam. "But we still need the Galactic Congress to intervene before the lockdown ends." As if in response to his words, The communication console chimed with an incoming transmission. The screen illuminated to show a severe-looking woman in the formal attire of a Galactic Congress adjudicator. "This is Adjudicator Chen of the Galactic Congress Ethics Committee," she announced. "We are responding to an emergency petition filed by Commander Le regarding a potential violation of sentient rights. Is Commander Le available?" Le stepped forward. "I'm here, Adjudicator. Thank you for responding. I understand your station is currently under attack by Dominion Corporation forces," Chen stated. "A most serious escalation. Galactic Congress peacekeeping vessels have been dispatched to your location and will arrive within 6 hours. In the meantime, I am here to conduct a preliminary assessment of your protective custody claim." Relief washed through Le. 6 hours was manageable with the station in lockdown. "I'm prepared to present all evidence immediately," he said. The assessment proceeded methodically. Le and Dr. Kim presented their findings: the genetic analysis, showing artificial modifications, the built-in degradation failsafes, the Dominion BioP marking, and Niet Dom's own drawings depicting laboratory containment. Most compelling, however, was Niet Dom herself. When Adjudicator Chen asked to speak with the child directly, Niet Dom approached the screen without hesitation. Though she couldn't speak, she demonstrated remarkable intelligence through a combination of gestures and drawings, clearly communicating her understanding and awareness. "The evidence of sentience is irrefutable," Chen concluded after nearly an hour of examination. "Regardless of her origins, this child qualifies for personhood protection under Galactic Congress law. I am granting immediate protective custody status, effective throughout all Congress jurisdictions." Le felt a weight lift from his shoulders. "And Dominion's claim?" Chen's expression hardened. "Dominion Corporation has no legal standing to claim ownership of any sentient being, regardless of their involvement in her creation. Furthermore, their armed attack on an ISI facility constitutes a serious violation of interplanetary law. They will face severe sanctions." The sound of renewed impacts against the command center doors interrupted their conversation. The Dominion forces had apparently found a way to bypass some of the lockdown protocols. "It seems our immediate situation remains precarious," Le observed grimly. "The peacekeeping vessels will arrive as quickly as possible," Chen assured him. "In the meantime, this transmission is being recorded and broadcast to all Galactic Congress member worlds. The eyes of the galaxy are on your station now. Commander, Dominion would be foolish to continue their assault under such scrutiny. Whether due to the Adjudicator's warning or their own assessment of the situation, the Dominion attacks on the command center doors ceased shortly after the transmission ended. 6 tense hours later, Galactic Congress peacekeeping vessels arrived, securing the station and taking the Dominion operatives into custody. The aftermath unfolded over subsequent weeks. The Galactic Congress launched a full investigation into Dominion BioP's activities, uncovering a network of secret facilities across multiple uncharted worlds. The evidence recovered from these facilities revealed decades of illegal experimentation, including attempts to create genetically enhanced beings designed for specific environments and purposes. Dominion Corporation faced unprecedented sanctions, including the complete dissolution of its biological research division and criminal charges against its top executives. Perhaps most significantly, the scandal prompted the Galactic Congress to strengthen its laws regarding genetic experimentation and the rights of all sentient beings, regardless of their origins. As for Niet Dom, the question of her future remained. With no homeworld and no biological family, she became the center of a complex legal discussion regarding her care and status. It was during these proceedings that Commander Le made an unexpected proposal. "I wish to apply for formal guardianship," he stated, before the Galactic Congress Ethics Committee. "Niet Dom has formed a bond of trust with me, and I with her. I can provide a stable home, education, and the support she needs to thrive." The committee deliberated at length, considering the unprecedented nature of the situation In the end, they recognized what had become increasingly apparent to everyone involved, the genuine connection that had formed between the human commander and the alien child. "Guardianship is granted," Adjudicator Chen announced, "with annual reviews to ensure the child's continuing welfare and development." 1 year later, Le stood on the balcony of his new home on Earth, watching as Niet Dom played in the garden below with children from the neighborhood. Though still unable to speak vocally, she had developed a sophisticated form of sign language that combined Earth standards with unique elements, reflecting her own physiology and perspective. Her blue-green skin and distinctive features had initially caused curiosity among humans, but children, as they often do, adapted quickly. To them, she was simply Niet Dom, the girl who could climb trees faster than anyone and who drew the most amazing pictures. Dr. Kim, who had resigned from ISI to establish a specialized medical practice on Earth, approached Le with a data pad in hand. "Her latest test results," he said, offering the device. "The genetic degradation has been completely halted. The regenerative treatments are working better than we hoped." Le nodded, relief evident in his expression. "And her communication implant, ready for surgical installation whenever she feels ready. It should allow her to produce sounds within the human audible range." Kim hesitated, then added, "Though she seems to be managing quite well without it." Below, Niet Dom was telling a story to the other children through a combination of signs, drawings, and expressive facial movements. Her audience watched in rapt attention, occasionally gasping or laughing at appropriate moments. "She's teaching them her language as much as learning ours," Le observed with quiet pride. Kim smiled. "She's a remarkable child. And now, thanks to the Galactic Congress ruling, she's set a precedent that will protect countless others." The ruling he referred to had been informally dubbed the Niet Dom Doctrine, a legal framework establishing that all sentient beings, regardless of their origins or genetic makeup, were entitled to fundamental rights and protections. Abu Niet Dom had spotted Le on the balcony and was waving enthusiastically. "Abu," she signed, using the name she had given him shortly after coming to Earth. It meant, she had explained through drawings, "one who comes through the storm." Le waved back, his weathered face creasing in a smile. In his 20 years with ISI, he had explored distant worlds, faced countless dangers, and witnessed wonders beyond imagination. But nothing had prepared him for the journey of the past year, the journey of becoming a father to a child from the stars. As the sun set over their home, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple that reminded Le of a certain ice planet far away, he reflected on the strange paths that life sometimes took. How a routine orbital scan had led to a rescue mission, which had led to a confrontation with one of the galaxy's most powerful corporations, which had ultimately led to this moment of peace in a garden on Earth. Niet Dom, once just a frozen alien child facing certain death on a desolate world, now raced across green grass beneath a warm sun, surrounded by friends and protected by laws that recognized her fundamental right to exist. And Le, once a by-the-book commander, who followed orders without question, had found something he never knew he was missing: a family created not by blood, but by compassion, courage, and the unbreakable bond that forms when one life reaches out to save another.